Welcome to the African Utility Week studio. I'm Nicolette Pomba van Sale, editor of ESI Africa. Today I am speaking with Phil Dingle, who is the marketing director of Lucy Electric. We're going to be talking about growth prospects of smart grids and automotive technologies in Africa. Welcome, Phil.
Welcome. It's nice to be here at African Utility Week again.
It's really nice to have you at our studio again as well. Phil, I'd like to start off with what are the main challenges? Because I think we just need to establish exactly where Africa is at the moment and what are those challenges and how do they differ from previous decades?
I think the major challenge within Africa in general remains the access to electricity for the majority of the population. It's still a huge government target in many countries, fundamentally linked to the economic growth of those countries. Access to electricity for population, how to make that and achieve that in a cost-effective time. For example, we heard last year from Eskom that it's 8 years from conception to completion to put in a transmission line. That's too slow for the modern world. So hence the whole concept of microgrids based on renewable energy, whether it's PV, wind, geothermal, comes into play and is absolutely critical for creating those, enabling those communities that have direct access to electricity.
So I think it's very important in terms of the enabling of the communities. So this then presents opportunities as well.
Very much so. In isolation, to create a microgrid is easy, but to create one that can be expanded, that can be grid ready for connection as and when the grid expands to that local community is critical. There is no sense in putting out there what we would call stranded assets that are no use to anyone in the future. They can't be connected. So therefore you do need the degrees of standardization, commonality, systems that would come and effectively ensure that the networks are treated as sub-utility scope systems.
And in terms of these opportunities then, how is Lucy Electric facilitating utilities progress?
So there's a few things that we're involved in. The first one here at African Utility Week this year, we're launching our new range of Aegis 36, a 36 kV ring main unit, really very much targeted at that renewables connection, particularly the PV, the wind energy, where you've got fairly sizable installations of a few megawatts. So that's very much aimed at that market, and we're pleased to be showing that on our stand here this time. What we're also very much involved in is the automation of the networks and of the systems, so that both the utilities but also the consumers can benefit from the reliability of the network. And I think at this point it's important to try and work your way through the mindset of, it's all very well saying I now want to connect as many people. The next challenge then is reliability. How often does the power stay on as opposed to being disconnected and then you're left with no power for hours? Because if that happens, well, you're back to where you were. So does that mean you've thrown away your diesel genset? Is the world reliable enough that you can actually eliminate your diesel genset? So once you get to the stage of reliability, it's then into power quality, and it's also the incentives that are put in place by the governments, the regulators, the companies themselves to provide that reliability to the end customer. So for example, at previous African Utility Weeks, we've had presentations from KPLC in Kenya, ECG in Ghana, where they've talked about reducing the average time taken to reconnect customers from 72 hours down to 6 minutes. That's very real with automation. So again, that's another facet of what we're about. Yeah.
Right. And you are launching the 36 kV ring unit here at African Utility Week. Is there anything that you want to share with us about this unit?
It's a bigger version of Aegis Plus, which is a ring main unit we launched here 2 years ago. This is now the extension of that, so it has the same form, fit, feel as its smaller brother. Most compact 36 kV unit. It includes an earth and cable test facility. all of the live parts enclosed in one stainless steel welded tank. So there's a lot of thought and progress gone into this as a evolution of the design, and we're looking forward to lots of great opportunities in the market.
Talking about opportunities, we were talking earlier about Lucy Electric really investing in female engineers, and you are also the sponsor for the ESI Africa's Women in Energy feature. Can you tell us a bit more about Lucy Electric's involvement with female progress?
Yeah, so very much so. At the heart of the organisation, our chairman Richard Dick for many years has been a sponsor of apprenticeships in general, particularly around our head office in Oxford in the UK, where we've been actively sponsoring apprenticeship programs. Much more recently, that's linked into the whole STEM initiative that's been put forward, and now in particular our women apprenticeships that are coming through. And we've some great examples of where, as part of the apprenticeship program, we've had a number of women come through and are now taking up senior engineering roles within the organisation.
Something really to look forward to.
Very much so, and we've also got a number of, how shall I say politely, well-established female engineers as well.
So Phil, lastly, what are your predictions for 2018?
I think first of all, the real challenge remains investment. But I think also now it's the realisation that the opportunity exists. Certainly, I saw last year and heard many stories that technology has overtaken the industry. So in a number of countries in Africa, you have the scenario that there are more people have access to mobile phones than they do to electricity. So how does the electricity distribution world catch up with the smart age that's been created by the use of mobile phones? And that's not about big, as I said earlier, big ticket investment on transmission schemes. It's making it local, it's making it real through the whole microgrid, through the renewables scenario. And I think enabling that deployment of that technology is going to have a huge impact to so many lives across the region, and will then enable the creation of wealth, in employment, and that's really what I'm seeing and I'm feeling, carrying on and looking forward to hearing more about that while I'm here in African Utility Week.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Phil. And thank you for watching. I'm Nicolette Pomba-Van Zyl, editor of ESI Africa, coming to you from the African Utility Week.